Well, what's your personality like, dude? Are you the guy that stresses out and can't sleep at night, or are you the guy who's got it all together and tells everybody to calm down?
I think I'm a bit of both. I think like
Yeah.
internally I'll be like kind of very stressed out, and then there are other things that don't phase me, and I kind of go, oh my god, I should be worrying about this. I think there's like a part of my brain that isn't totally like functional in terms of some risks, but other
Yeah.
risks keep me up at night. So
Yeah.
it's very difficult, and I think it's really hard to maintain that like sense of strength,
Yeah.
which
It is.
people need. Like I need someone when I talk to someone with a problem, I need them to be strong for me, and I
Yeah.
then when they have a problem, I need to be strong for them. But if I'm flapping and panicked about the thing, and they're not there for me, I can't be there for them. So it's really difficult. But I think like overall, it all went pretty smoothly. We had a long kind of window to get everything together, and it was just kind of. I think every launch of a game is probably madness in its own way.
Well, I think a lot of people don't fully understand why a launch is stressful, like, especially if you're not involved. Like you're just like, well, just patch it if it breaks.
Right.
And like I had a lot of people, close friends and family, just say, like, this was like 2 years before I launched Pinstripe. They were like, just launch the game. And I had been working on it 3 years at that point. And I was like, no, like it's not perfect. Like I can't launch it. And they're like, why can't you just launch it and patch it later? And I said, because it's like the Titanic. Like if you're setting sail, you better hope that there are no holes, because this is your one shot. And that's how important launch is. You have to have a good launch week. Now, I think things are a little bit different, like maybe a little different than they were like a decade ago, because you like if you launched, let's for example, like a PS2 or PS3 a decade ago, I don't know, or maybe even PlayStation. If you launched a PlayStation game, you better make sure that it was perfect. But now you can patch things, but there still is that sense of wanting to make sure that it's absolutely perfect, because you have to make a splash in the ocean of Steam. You've got like 7,000 games released in a year. I think that's what the number was. So you better make sure that your game is perfect when you launch it, because this is your one shot to make a splash.
I think that number has gone up pretty significantly now as well. So I absolutely agree with you. And you see friends and their games come out and they get like a few bad reviews, and that puts off so many people.
It does. It really does.
How did you find yours? Because your reviews are pretty universally positive, as they should be. But were you kind of launching and then patching like every few hours? Because I would say that I kind of had our first patch up within a few hours of the game being out.
So this might sound like narcissistic, but I didn't need to patch anything. The reason was because I'm not like you, dude. Like I'm really anxious. Like I had like pretty bad anxiety for like 3 years. This was before Pinstripe launched. For some reason, I got it under control in the most stressful time of my life. But my anxiety would make me over prepare. So I did so much QA. I outsourced a ton of QA. So everything was like we basically had a soft launch with beta testers. We had like a couple hundred beta testers test the game, and every little glitch that showed up, I fixed. So when we launched the game, I wasn't really nervous about glitches. I did get a crash report, and that freaked me out, because when you get a crash report in beta testing, you're like, okay, what percentage of the market is this crash? Is it all PCs or is it all Macs? What is it? So I got a crash report, but fortunately that didn't affect the launch. So yeah, like we launched and everything was really solid. But you're still anxious, because when you launch a game, you've been dreaming about this moment for years, right?
Right.
And you hit that launch button, and you're not getting reviews in. Like you have like one review in, and you're like, what the hell? Like, is nobody playing my game? And like by the end of the first week, you only have like 20 reviews. And that really freaked me out. Fortunately, like I think Pinstripe is performing better than most indie games. It's not like a Toby Fox game. It's not Undertale or anything, but it's performing pretty good, and it's got a 9 out of 10, which I noticed you have a 9 out of 10 as well. on Steam, which congratulations, that's a huge achievement.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
you.
So, but yeah, that first week that was the hardest week of my life.
The experience of launching and that roller coaster that you have, couple of days after we launched, and actually I'm sounding very down. I'm really happy actually with the way Adventure Pals is doing, and we can come back to that later. But you reached out to me and just went, "Hey man, are you okay?" And and then I just like unleashed like all this stuff that I'd been holding in, like, "Oh, I feel this way," and what was it like for you? Is this normal? Like what, you know? And that was really powerful of you to do. And actually, since then, I've done that to a couple of other developers.
Oh yeah,
and I've had similar responses. So it's like it's almost like a club, like, oh, you've been through that too. I know what you're about to go through. I know what you're going to go through. I'll be waiting, and I'll have a shoulder for you to cry on, kind of thing.
You know, and I think it has to do with really setting expectations, because some of the indie developers, including myself, they're still, for some reason, they're riding high off of the indie game documentary, you know, and they're like, this is going to happen. And this is going to, you're still like you said, you're like, that won't happen to me. But deep down, you're like, that's going to happen to me.
Right.
And so you're waiting and you don't know what to expect. And I think it's important for indie developers to know what to expect. You should expect $100,000 in sales perhaps in a year, and you're not going to get all that. And if you have a publisher, they're going to take some of it. And that's kind of depressing, because it's like, well, how on earth do you survive? And the way that you survive, and that wasn't the case for me, I'm just throwing out a random number. But the way, like you said, the way that you survive is you keep making games, right? So like the shelf life of a game is, I've heard it's like 3 years on Steam. They can stay greener, you know, for longer, but I think 3 years is probably the shelf life of an indie game, where it's giving you consistent like sales numbers that you can predict. Now, if you can release a game every 2 years, then eventually you're going to stack up enough games, right? But if you release a game every 3 years, you're only going to have one game released every 3 years, you know, and that's not going to work. So the question is, how on earth do you hire somebody and pay them a salary to help you release more games? That's the conundrum. I guess that's the conundrum for any business owner, is how do you afford to pay somebody like a legit salary, like a game developer? How do you afford to pay them a salary?
That's it. I think you need to either put them on points or put them on like a project basis, where it's like, I'm going to hire you for 3 months for this project.
Yeah.
And, you know, but like just a rolling salary, I think once you're in a position to do that, then you are you're doing pretty well. You're up there with the Chucklefishes and the Clays of this world.
Yep. Which, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah.
But so you're saying the work that you've hired out for Adventure Pals, it was contracted.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'd say like, oh, we need help getting these backgrounds done in time. We know just the person to go to, or we look for people, and then we get in touch and we're like, this is the work we'd like to do. We'd like to pay you this much, and they usually come back like, yeah, that's great. And then they do it. And it's just like hiring like musicians to write the theme tune, but we've done that with like a lot of the kind of animation and the background artwork and a lot of the elements to the project.
Okay. Very good.
We haven't actually done any kind of like, you know, we'll give you 5% if you do X, Y, Z, because I think that is quite hard, particularly with indie games. Like, I think you could either, it's almost a bit irresponsible, because you might lead people to believe, oh, this is going to make $5 million. And they're like, well, 5% of 5 million. Okay, great. So I think that is kind of a dangerous thing to, or they've been there and they've seen it and they're like 5% of nothing.